Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Andrew Saal. Let me just get my screen shared here with you all. Perfect. Just make this a little bigger. Great. So today we're going to be talking about the company Equifax and their preventable breach that happened back in 2017, as well as their strategic communication that they used, their plans, and that effect that it had on society and people in general. So this is for ITM's 515 Strategic Communications class with Professor Todd Vogue. Yet again, my name is Andrew Saal, and today's date is February 27th, 2022. Let's go ahead and get started here. So a little bit of an agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. Doing an introduction of Equifax and what they are and who they are as a company. We're talking about the main issues of the data breach that happened back in 2017. And we'll also be talking about the strategic crisis communication tactics that were used by Equifax. We'll talk about Equifax's crisis website and call center that they created, their Twitter usage. We'll be talking about the perspectives on behaviors on the stakeholders and what kind of piece that they had, the perspectives of behaviors on society, and then finally conclusions and final thoughts. Great, so just a little bit of an introduction to Equifax and who they are. Equifax is they're a American consumer credit reporting agency that they're headquartered here in Atlanta, Georgia. Equifax is one of the 3 largest consumer credit reporting agencies in the world. They have millions, hundreds of millions of customers and help out 88 million businesses worldwide. This quote here is from Bankrite. This kind of sums up a little bit more about who Equifax is. What they do is they end quote track the credit history of borrowers in order to generate credit reports and credit scores. It sells this information to banks and other financial institutions in order to keep them determine the risk of their customers. That was by Bankrate. So that's a little bit of an introduction of who Equifax is and what they do. Moving on here, so we'll talk about the main issues with the data breach here. So the main issue, the key core issue that happened here was the out-of-date security systems. This quote here from Sectigo states, an expired certificate led to a catastrophic failure that cost the company greatly in terms of reputation, customer trust, and hard dollars. Like I said, this is the main piece of the breach that could have been prevented this all from happening. And with this, one of the few other main issues that we'll be digging into is the video that was sent out by past CEO Rick Smith, and their Twitter usage and their website call center. These are all, part of the main issues of the patchy communication, which we'll get into here. And moving along, strategic communication tactics by Equifax. So in this video, CEO, we see Rick here. He states in a video that was sent out to all the customers of Equifax, it states, to each and every person affected by this breach, I'm deeply sorry this occurred. The company failed to prevent sensitive information from falling into the hands of wrongdoers. This is by Rick Smith in 2017. Though Rick, he seemed apologetic in the video did lack sincerity, as he was reading off the whole video off of a transcript or a teleprompter. And with this, it made some people upset, as it lacked just the human side of showing emotion. This video had getting a lot of backlashes and ended up getting where Rick Smith retired later in the year, largely due to the backlash of this video that was sent out. So the Equifax crisis website and call center. So the crisis website was created to help out the affected customers. This was a website that had updated information on the case and gave the affected customers a way for them to communicate to stakeholders. Though a lot of the customers found that this was too complicated website, or it was inaccessible to use, as the amount of traffic on the website was very high, and the website just ended up crashing. There was a FAQ section for general questions for investors, and for customers, for the affected customers to go towards. The call center, this was for customers for if they reach out to them. But the kind of iffy thing on this was that there was no direct calls coming from Equifax to the direct customers. So once they were notified, the customers were notified that they got their information was hacked, they had to reach out then back to Equifax. I personally think they should have been the other way around, where Equifax should have been contacting via phone, email, etc., all the channels that you can to communicate to your customers of what happened and how they can help. This is about their Twitter usage. Twitter was the one and only main social media channel that Equifax used and still used today. The issue here is that they reply to pretty much every tweet that was sent out to them. So when customers realized that Equifax was replying to every tweet, they really want to take advantage of that. So they were really just asking the same questions. This had a little bit of backlash where Equifax's replies were not seen as public tweet for all their followers to see. This led to a lot of confusion, leading to similar questions that were being asked across the board on Twitter. A tweet that was sent out that had a lot of people infuriated was this quote that I have right up here. It states, "Happy Friday. You've got Steve ready and willing to help your customer service needs today." So this tweet was sent out just the next morning after Equifax announced to the public that they were breached. A lot of people, like I said, they were kind of infuriated by this. They weren't sure why they would send this out. Later, it was deleted, but obviously a lot of people screenshotted it, as you see here. And yeah, we weren't really sure why they sent this out. Maybe the social media manager was out sick for the day, or maybe it was just sent out through a scheduling post. But who's really to be sure on that? So I just thought that was an interesting piece to show in there. A little bit of a perspective of behaviors on the stakeholders. So the stakeholders they wore a lot of different hats during this kind of crisis, you could say. They were answering direct questions from the customers. So the stakeholders were in charge of answering direct questions or calls or messages that were about the affected customers and trying to help them out with the information they had with the data breach. So little story here, 3 days back, before the hack happened, 3 of the top stakeholders of Equifax actually sold their stock. This quote here from Randall in 2017 states, "The U.S. Department of Justice has commenced a criminal investigation of the Equifax data breach and will look into the possibility of insider trading for the top 3 executives." Like I said here, there's no current news or updates on this case as it's still being determined on all the legality pieces there. But that was pretty interesting to see here just the top stakeholders actually selling their stock just 3 days before the breach happened. Kind of weird timing, I think. And then a perspective of behaviors on society. Really, there's tons of reminders really to society on this data breach where we can all learn from. So the first point here, just demonstrate true care and concern when trouble happens. We saw this kind of lacking from the video of past CEO Rick Smith, where he was kind of missing that human factor in the video. Be informative, address and answer to the most extent. A lot of times the company was kind of holding back on their information where they really should have, shown out what they own and what they know to help out their customers more effectively. Communicate consistently across all channels. This is huge, across all channels, as many channels as possible, and being consistent with it, keeping your customers updated. Communicate in simple terms, not using corporate or legal talk. Again, going back to the video of Rick, he was using a lot of legal talk video, and people weren't really understanding what he was saying. A little bit of an article here that I found from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. was about some new recent articles, or it was a new recent article that came out just this month here in February. It states a new settlement. The company has agreed to a global settlement with the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and 50 U.S. states and territories. The settlement includes up to $425 million to help people affected by the data breach. That's by FTC in this month here. This month's recent news on the data breach. It's good to see that there is some actual help and benefit for the people that are affected, and things are kind of moving forward in a positive way for Equifax. So just a little conclusion and final thoughts here that I have. This breach here that happened with Equifax was completely preventable. It had a large influence on the ineffective strategic communication that affected millions of people's lives. Equifax is still working on gaining back their reputation on who their branding is as a company. They don't want to be known as the data breach company. They want to be known as a helpful company for millions of people's lives, not one that doesn't do the opposite of that. When a breach happens, and if it happens to any company, the readiness of a strategic communications plan will show face up. We saw this here, how Equifax did not really have much of a plan. And they failed to have any sort of strategic or crisis communication plan at all. We'll just say that let this preventable breach of Equifax be a lesson learned for the rest of the globe on the importance of being prepared to communicate strategically. And here are my references. And that is all. So thank you very much for listening and having me tell you guys a little bit more about Equifax and their data breach that happened back in 2017. So thanks again for a great semester, and take care. Bye-bye.